Hello, everyone. Cooperman257 here with Cameron. Let's see, those who have watched Swiss's stream knows that Cameron sometimes joined, and at one point he did his own sort of like streaming politics one, but this is the first time he's on my channel. Say hello, Cameron.
Hello, everyone.
And for those watching, we're here to discuss the upcoming 2026 local elections. Let me just get the screen share, if you will. Oops, no, that's the share. There we go. Share screen. We are here to cover the local elections of 2026 here in England, as well as the Welsh Senedd elections for 2026, as well as the Scottish Parliament elections, and asked the question of whether or not this man here, Keir Starmer, our Prime Minister, will resign as a result of the local elections. That is basically what we're here to discuss, as locals will be on the 7th of May, along with the Welsh and Scottish elections, as those take place once every 5 years, and they seem to coincide with the elections here in the UK. A lot to talk about, particular fact that possibly, well, everyone believes that the local elections in England will be a disaster for, Labour, given the fact that they've been pretty poor in government and give plenty of opportunities for reform, and the Green Party to take the seats. But it seems for the first time in over 100 years, Labour could actually lose Wales, their original heartland, if you will. Which is a bit unheard of. I mean, it's like people would expect them to lose possibly Scotland, because they've been losing Scotland since 2015, if you will. But the fact that they could lose, Wales is like a real dire thing, which as a result, as many people questioning if Keir Starmer will stay on. So, yeah. I don't know. Why don't you give a little bit of your thoughts about it at the moment, Cameron, since I've just been talking for the last minute. So, yeah.
Oh, I fully expect it to be a disaster for the party. There's very little redeeming for them at the moment. Storm's very unpopular. The economy isn't in quite bad shape. And there's a general sort of hatred towards the mainstream parties at the moment. So I fully expect a disaster for Labour, and yes, I think they will lose Wales.
Oh, fair enough.
And
yeah,
I think they won't be second in Scotland. I think that would be reform.
Okay, fair enough. So, yeah. So, I suppose a little details on the local elections. From my understanding, it's mostly the Londons are having their borough elections. There's a few county elections, mostly a few metropolitan ones, but particularly in places like Labour's got all these London ones here that they currently control, with a few Lib Dems and Conservatives, though there is no overall control in some areas, as well as this one party called the Aspire that controls one area. Let's see. And for metropolitan, boroughs, they have like Newcastle, Coventry, Bradford, Birmingham, South Tashini, Wakefield, which isn't that Lee Anderson's seat, or am I getting?
Wakefield.
Yeah, Wakefield. Am I thinking of?
No.
Am I thinking of the one that defected from the Tories to Labour?
Wakefield. No. I don't think that's Wakefield. I think Anderson's Ashfield, so that's not Nottinghamshire.
Okay, I'm getting my geography mixed up. I apologise. Of course, the standard local elections for third of a councillors, which is places like Manchester, Leeds, Bolton, Dudley, Wigan, if you will. There was Sheffield, which I believe is your area, if I recall right.
Oh, I don't live in Sheffield, no.
Okay, sorry. I know you live in Yorkshire, but sorry, my mistake. Apologies there. But of course, there's the unitary authorities with ones here, other like one-third etsy elections such as Peterborough, Portsmouth, which is Tom's area, and ironically enough, Hartlepool, which a certain former MP has gotten quite a lot of headlines there, as well as a few mayor elections from like Hackney, Lesham, Newham, half of them controlled by Labour, one by Lib Dem, one by Aspire, and one by Conservatives. And of course, county councils, which usually run by Tories, and a few other district elections. But yeah, so yeah, from my understanding, Labour, of course, is standing in nearly every place, same as like the Tories, if you will, Lib Dems, of course, and of course Reform UK and Green Party. But your party, given the chaos they have, they're having either such few or small candidates, right?
I don't know what they're doing. They're running a few isolated candidates and they've been endorsing independents. I really don't know what they're trying to do at the moment.
Oh yeah, let's see. They've got a bit of a. So go on.
You know, there are at some parts of the country that are well organised. They do have a bigger membership, but at the moment, not appear to do very much.
That is true, and they've just basically lost their leadership in Scotland, if my understanding, or their broad members, their like broad thing there, after they blocked a few members, right?
Yeah, there's also a thing where they're barred people from joining from other parties, other tendencies, because there's a lot of tendency groups that have joined or tried to fit with your party. So there's a lot of infighting going on there, a lot of incompetence going on that party.
I'm just going to quickly put some comments where it's only a shock way of saying is there's going to be plenty of councils where Reform is the largest party, but falls short enough for a left-wing coalition to keep them out of power. Okay. And Nana KF1C saying, hail. I suppose we should get to this comment. How accurate do you think Shockwave here is, Cameron, about, let's see, Reform in a lot of these councils?
Probably. It's probably accurate.
Enough.
Yeah, you can imagine there'd be a lot of councils in North of England where Reform are a little short.
Fair enough. That does seem to be the case. I mean, that's sort of happened with them in recent by-elections as well, where they do a lot better. They come in like first, they've come in like second, but either someone on the left, be it the Greens or Plaid Cymru, have managed to take the win before. Let's see, they can do it. Of course, Farage always acts a bit. Let's see, not exactly the best sportsmanship from what I can tell, but yeah. Anyway, from what I can tell, we've got a bit of a seat prediction of what some people think is likely to happen. Labour currently, I believe, has 2,196 councillors. The Tories 1,134. Lib Dems 663. Greens 170, Reform 78, and as well as I believe others, mostly independents, 773. My understanding, these ones were last took place in 2021, which arguably wasn't really a good year for Labour either. Heck, let me just get the local election result back in 2021, just for like example, where Boris, after just like the local elections and of course the first year with like the pandemic and all that stuff, a lot of county council and local elections had to be moved up for this year. let's see, Starmer had been a leader for a year, but he seemed to have made it neck and neck in the polls between him and Boris at the time. But the Tories not only won 13 new councils and 235 councillors, they also won the Hartlepool by-election there. And at that point, Keir Starmer was like on the edge of resigning because of how poorly he did with the local elections. Because it's like at this point, he was supposed to come in to like make Labour more electable, appeal more to the crowd, but it's like his first test and he's not doing so well. Arguably, this was a foreshadowing to events to come, and unfortunately for Keir Starmer, fortunately for Keir Starmer, Boris Johnson ended up doing Partygate, which screwed up his chances. So arguably, these sets of elections were like the last time, let's see, the Boris wave, if you will, or Boris mania, let's see, appealed to the electorate, if you will, but before coming here. But now, 5 years later, we've got local elections once again discussing whether or not Keir Starmer will be ousted. So, yeah. But yeah, I suppose we should probably go back to the predictions. So it seems like these are all the seats I think Labour and the Tories, Lib Dems currently have with these sets of elections. But it seems people are predicting that Labour will only get 458 of them. The Tories, let's see, 507. Lib Dems will increase by going to like 990, nearly 1,000. The Greens will 10 times their amount with 1,096. And Reform are going to become the largest with 1,515. I'm curious, how accurate do you think let's see, this predicament is, or do you think they're a bit off in some numbers?
And it's Reform, I'm thinking. Is Reform over-exaggerated a little bit under the Dems?
You think the Lib Dems are being overhyped with this result, or
a little? No, I don't know. The thing is, the Lib Dems are essentially non-entities at the moment. They're always going to pop up at local elections. But I don't see any momentum for the Lib Dems.
Yeah, the Lib Dems haven't really been talked about recently. It's like, I mean, granted, they managed to do some. Let's see, they managed to got some attention in, like, the 2024 elections when Ed Davey did all those stunts, but now they've just kind of been non-existent. I mean, they are the third largest party again, but no one is talking about them replacing Labour or the Tories.
I mean, it is a local election, so it tend to favour the Dems in recent years. You expect them to gain seats, but
yeah. But let's see. But arguably, you don't think they've done enough to like draw attention.
No. There's actually rumours about MPs being restless about Davey, like about his leadership. There have been those rumours going around.
So there's talks that people are going to replace Ed Davey before the next general election.
I don't know before next election. There's rumours that are not happy with Davey. That's rumours I'm heard about. I don't know if they were like cuping. They don't stab the MPs in the front like him just for it. So you don't expect them to oust him.
Okay, fair enough. All right, we've got a few comments here saying, are there any predictions of what various parties may gain or lose, which I've just kind of shown? Do you have an election in your area? For my area, no. Let's see, my locals would normally be a third of the councillors, but they changed that to a full-on parliamentary. So technically, I'm not supposed to get local elections until 2028, but Hertfordshire is going through some major changes, I believe. And as a result, let's see, there's going to be like a new set of locals, I think, in 2027. I don't remember the full details, but that's the case for me. You have locals in your area this year, Cameron, or
no, I don't. No, I won't have any. I won't have any for about 2029.
So is yours like a four-term local elections?
Yes. Yeah, it is.
Okay, fair enough. So yeah, we can only either observe or go out and canvass in other areas, which before I sprained my ankle, I kind of went canvassing for Labour in Stevenage, where let's see, either half the people said they were going to be voting Labour, who I ended up knocking on the door, or the other half talking about either voting for Reform or the Greens, with the usual complaint being that they don't like Keir Starmer. So yeah, which Hertfordshire is about at the moment appears to be a battle between Labour and Reform. So yeah, I don't really have the option to pick Green if I wanted to, though. Granted, I'd probably just vote Labour just because I'm a local member there, and it'd feel like a bit of a betrayal. And anyway, we've got Nana KS saying if the Greens get 1,000, that will be over double their current total. They currently have 910 councillors. Oh, okay, so they'll probably have like nearly 2,000 councillors at this point. Let's see. And the Welsh Lib Dems can gain a seat or two in the Senedd, according to the polls. We'll probably get to that in a bit. But so we think, so you believe the Lib Dems, at least with this polling, are being a bit over exaggerated.
I don't know.
Okay.
I think I personally think the Greens will be the winners. The Greens will be the clear winners of the local elections.
The Greens will be the winners. Okay.
Yeah, the Greens will be the clear winners in terms of seats gained. I think independents will do really well. The polls are not reflection on, let's say Birmingham very well with the independents over there. So I think independents will do really well. I think the Greens will do well. I think Reform will do well on paper, but I think they won't do well as people think they will.
Okay. Well, I'm just going to get to that. So you think the Greens will get, let's see, because at the moment this poll predicts that Reform will get like 1,500 and the Greens 1,000. You think it could end up being the other way or something? Or
potentially. I just think Reform are just at their peak in support.
That is interesting because people have been talking about this, and in fact, a lot of political commentators thinking that the recent events, such as the Iran war. Sorry, I got them mixed up there for a second, and Donald Trump, being Donald Trump, if you will, and Farage's association and initial support for like these conflicts. They feel like this has turned people against him.
I don't think it will be that in the long term that hampers Reform. I think it's vote splitting. I think I'm not going to say they're going to win loads of seats in general election, but I think they will split the Reform vote, and that's the store. That's what I'm looking at.
So you think Restore, the splinter party from, was it Reuben, I believe? Is that his name?
Rupert Lowe.
Rupert
what
Lowe.
I see is in people moving to them like vote splitting, and maybe the Conservatives doing a little better than expected. This is looking like further onwards towards a general election. That's what I suspect is going to happen. That's why I say Reform probably peaked at the support at the moment.
Okay. So you think they're peaking, but there's signs of declining, and you think this will show in these locals a little bit?
Yeah, a little. I still think they're going to do really well.
Okay.
I think they're going to do really well in North England. Places like Barnsley, who are up for local elections, they're going to do well. Places out there, I think Reform are going to do well, but I think people over exaggerate how well they're going to do. I might be wrong, but
okay. Enough. At the very least, you believe that Greens and Reform will be the ones, but Greens will be the one that looks the more out, that come out on top compared to like Reform at the very least.
Yeah, I think the Greens will do really well.
Can you see them getting like 1,000 councillors, like what this poll here is predicting?
I think it's possible.
Okay. Fair enough. Arguably, at least, even if I suppose Reform do end up getting the largest amount of councillors, I do think that if the Greens shown to have the massive vote share increase and more net gain of councillors, I do think that they will people will be talking more about them at least, or will try to. Though, granted, I have seen that. There's been a lot more recent attacks on, of course, their leader, Sak Polanski, lately. Labour, of course, trying to use, I think, the anti-Semitism smear campaign against him, given how he recently apologized to Jeremy Corbyn for I think accusing him of being of falling for the anti-Semitism campaign against him in 2018, if I recall. I'm sure you've probably seen that, but yeah.
Yes.
But yeah. So let's see. Nana says, I think these locals can side with the London locals. The Greens will pick up on MPs in London, so I guess a decent number of the councillors' games will be there. Arguably, London, from my understanding, has been a bit chaotic with what people predicting. From my understanding,
See, the Greens. The thing with the Greens in London, historically, the Greens have always been covered again seats in London, like council seats in local elections, and they're always done worse than they thought they were going to do. So London are just not sure how well the Greens are going to do.
Yeah,
they'll pick up something.
Oh yeah. From what most polling has recently shown, is that while Labour still will have the highest vote share, let's see, Greens are either a close second, and let's see, the projections do not look exactly well for Labour, given how they seem to they'll come in, let's see, third behind the Conservatives from this one. So but yeah, so London definitely does seem to be up in games now. Labour might still have the largest vote share, but given how the seats are being predictions, it seems like they're not going to be doing so well, if you will. But oops, I haven't shared the shit. Sorry, oops, wrong one. I haven't shared. I need to. I forgot. I didn't share the tab poll. So yeah, the Londons, all the places standing, comparisons of councils and currents. And yeah, here are the opinion polls for this one. Labour on 26. Let's see, the Conservatives on 17, Lib Dems 15, Greens 22, Reform 14, others 6. With Labour on a 4-point lead, and as you can see here, this is a massive decrease from the last time these locals were up in 2022, if you will. Let's see, Labour had 42.5%. Tories 25, Lib Dems 14, Greens 11.
See that with the Lib Dems, it's just stagnation.
Yeah. Let's see. They've arguably probably reached the peak they can with, let's see, Ed Davey, but clearly they have not really found someone that can move beyond.
Yeah, it's South England around West London. It's that where they do well. They're stagnating.
Yeah, and it seems like if they do end up winning stuff, it'll be more of just Labour's collapse, really. Since apparently Labour's going to get likely 306 London councillors. Greens are going to come in first with 575. Let's see. And even the Conservatives are beating them with, let's see, 464. In fact, it seems to imply that the Conservatives will actually gain in London, even just smallly, which is kind of insane to think about. Let's see. Reform last place, but you'd probably expect Reform to be last place in London. Really? Let's see.
Well, I think Reform could do well in I've seen some projections where they're doing well in East London.
Okay. That's probably where they're getting. That's probably where the seat projections are coming from. But yeah. Anyway, I suppose we should probably now talk about, of course, the two main parties. We talked about how Reform and Greens and even the Lib Dems will do. But the question is, will Labour and the Tories do as badly as here? Because, well, apparently this poll predicts that Labour's going to lose about over 1,500 councillors. Tories look to lose over like 600. I think Tom, who I don't think is unfortunately available to stream with us, I think has said a few times in the chat. I think how he thinks that Labour's going to do much worse and maybe lose 2,000 councillors, which will be probably, I think, from my understanding, the first time that has happened since John Major in, 1996, 1995 or something?
Yeah, I think you have to understand how much hated the Keir Starmer and Labour is at the moment. Next to nobody says anything good about them. Only people don't like Keir Starmer.
Oh yeah,
I expect Labour to be absolutely destroyed in the local elections. Whether it be that bad, I don't know. But yeah, I think Labour are in for a big rude awakening.
Yeah. And for those who want to see how badly Labour are in the polling right now, it's gone so bad that they're coming in either third or fourth, depending on which polling you ask.
Or else soon they'll be behind the Dems.
Yeah. I mean, the Greens have arguably become the second party, maybe sometimes tying with the Tories. Let's see. Because even one poll where the Greens and Reform ended up, and the Tories, I think, all tied at 21, which that's a lot off cross polls, so take that what you will, but still. But yeah, it is not looking bad. And let's see, for like, where is it? Keir Starmer's.
You see, Labour's problem, they lost any distinction from the Conservative Party. Like, every criticism that could throw at the Conservative Party over the last 40 years, they've been guilty for. But they're not distinct enough. That's why the Greens are so popular at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, it seems like at best Keir Starmer is either slightly beating Badenoch or losing to Badenoch into like neck and neck polling. But of course, and to some extent, he does sometimes do better than against Nigel Farage. But
yeah, but Nigel Farage is Marmite.
Yeah. Though, funny enough, ironically, if Ed Davey was like the main opposition, apparently he would probably do really well.
I think if he was, it is possible because some polls suggested this. If the Lib Dems become the opposition, let's say it's an election, Labour get out destroyed, and the Lib Dems somehow maintain the current seat levels and just become Welsh opposition party. I do think that'd be very interesting to witness.
Yeah, let's see. We could probably see what. We'll probably see what a Lib Dem leader will do with like 6 questions, rather than let's see what.
It'll be very cringe because the Lib Dems are cringe, but it'll be fascinating to witness because it is a possibility that we get hung parliament, and you end up having, let's say, Reform and the Conservatives work with each other.
Yeah, and we'll see how Farage handles working in a minority party.
And you can't say they won't work together when the entirety of the Reform Parliamentary Party is former Tories.
Oh, yeah. Given how there'll probably be some very strong animosity with those who are currently Tories and those who are not. But yeah. We've got a comment from Nana Cassis. Can I come on if you guys want? No worries if you don't. I'm sure you're happy to come, but let's see. Hold on, I suppose I could send should I send a link? What do you think, Cam? You think should I dare risk it?
Go on.
All right, let me just I will copy and send a link in but I'll probably delete it once you're in. There we go. There's a link for you to join. Okay, well, I guess we're waiting for that, but I guess we can talk about, as we can see here, there is Keir Starmer's approval ratings, where as you can see, they're negative. Let's see, 40s, I think, even in the 50s. So yeah, he is, let's see, extremely unpopular, if you will. Oh, it looks like he is let's see, not about. So I'm just going to delete the comment because I don't want to risk let's see someone coming in that is, well, how should I say, sketchy, if you will. But yeah, but if I see him, no, Nana, if you are on Twitter, you can message me and I will send you the link there if you want. But yeah, anyway, so yeah, Keir Starmer is remotely unpopular, and that is why Labour is doing so poorly. The only question is whether or not the Tories will also have the sort of similar results. Now, interesting enough, when the Tories a while back, before, I guess, was it Robert Jenrick defected to Reform Party, people expected Kemi Badenoch to be booted out as leader soon, and then of course Robert Jenrick takes over and all that, if you will, lead the Tories. But since that's not happened, she's likely to stay on.
Well, then leaving the Conservative Party strengthened Kemi, really, because they're the ones that with threats to Kemi's leadership, the ones that will probably would have replaced her.
We've got I believe we've got, is that Nana KAF1FC? Hello?
Hello?
Hello, are you the one who was in the chat?
Yeah, I am, yeah.
Okay. Well, hello, NA. Hope you enjoyed the stream. Let's be, I'm glad that you found the link. I had to delete it because there was an incident back with Captain Swiss a while when, unfortunately, a very problematic, let's see, guest from outside joined. So I've had to just delete it just to be on the safe side. But I'm glad you can join. But anyway, I suppose, what are your thoughts on the locals so far? How do you think they're going to go down?
Yeah, probably the same as you guys. Just Reform and the Greens are going to gain a load and everyone else is going to lose. Lib Dems might gain a bit in Wales, but that's about it in terms of the Senate. But they're going to be stable or go back a bit.
Okay. But yeah. Well, I suppose it's probably time to now actually talk about the Senate elections, in which, of course, let's see, Labour, who has basically dominated, let's see, Welsh for like over 100 years in terms of parliament seats, and like the last, let's see, say 30 years, ever since the Senate was like formed, if you will, they've always come out on top, even regardless of how badly or well Labour does nationally, if you will. Though maybe a few times they had to rely on, say, Plaid Cymru and the Lib Dems, but they've also done well enough that they could, let's see, run as a minority or just by themselves, if you will. But this time it feels like that's not going to be the case. And for the first time ever, it feels like Wales and Welsh Labour is going to lose, and that Plaid Cymru, or let's see, is going to be the ones that come out on top, if you will, though at the very least, or maybe even Reform, depending on who you ask. But yeah, it also doesn't help that I guess for Labour that they have Well, changed. It also is interesting that let's see, Welsh Labour changed the electoral system a bit, where I think they've added a lot more SNED seats, making it. It was originally 60, but they've now added another 36, I think, for proportional representation, making it so that no party by themselves can run the elections, if you will. So, regardless of who wins, be it Ritzy Plaid or Reform, if the polling is correct, they will need someone like, I guess, either Labour, Lib Dems, Greens, or even the Tories, I guess, to try and help them govern like Wales. So but it is kind of like manning to learn that for the first time ever. Let's see, Wales is about to lose. Let's see, Labour's about to lose Wales. So I don't know. What are your comments and predictions on the Welsh elections?
I expect Pride to be the largest party. Labour will do very poorly. I think Reform will do reasonably well.
Mm-hmm.
And the Dems might gain a seat or two, but I don't think they will do much.
Fair enough. At the moment, we've got a bunch of seat projections here, if you will, which, of course, with the exception of the latest YouGov, Etsy has Reformers a lot. Etsy beating Plaid by one thing, but other than that, it's mostly either Etsy Plaid predicting to either do in the 30s or in like some of the really good ones in the 40s. Now, from my understanding, let's see, you need at least 49 seats to form majority. So at the very least, given like current polling, it seems like Plaid Cymru will need need at least a party that they need either someone with like between 10 or 15 seats to help them, which depending on how well that means, it might, even though Labour might arguably do badly, they might still be enough to be like the third party slash junior partners in like the sort of coalition if Plaid Cymru comes about. Reform, it will probably be a bit more trickier because I doubt any of the other parties, except maybe the Tories, would be willing to work with them in the Synod if they do end up, becoming the largest party. But yeah, so it's the only thing. So Lib Dems will get at least one or two extra seats. Anyway, and for the rest of the record, the results are from this one here, where Labour 13, Conservatives 16, Plaid Cymru 13, Greens 0, Lib Dems 1, Reform 0, and another 0, and an others 0, which among those I think is like abolish the Synod, but I'm not sure if those guys are standing in this one. I know.
Yeah, they're not standing.
Yeah,
but they did quite well last time, even though they didn't get any seats. I think they were maybe the biggest party that didn't get any seats or close to it.
Okay, fair enough. So
yeah, I also think Plaid will be the biggest party. The most interesting thing will be whether they'll be relying on Labour to form a majority, because that could be it could make things a little bit difficult, being they've badmouthed them a lot. So
yeah, arguably Labour's definitely gone on the offence, given the fact that for the first time ever, they're afraid of actually losing. Like, I think even their leader, hold on, let me just get her up. As the current First Minister is Ellen Morgan here, who, from my understanding, sort of replaced the previous Welsh First Minister, who is in there for less than a year and was like Starmer's pick, and he was, from my understanding, really bad. Sorry, you were about to say something? Hello?
I wasn't. I don't know if Cameron was going to say something.
Were you about to say something?
No, I wasn't.
Okay, but yeah. No, I
But
can't
yeah,
quite.
I think she was elected by default. I don't think anyone stood against her.
Oh yeah, no one stood against him, but he got in some, I think, some scandals and controversies that.
No, Morgan. I meant he did. He
Yeah.
beat. I can't remember who he beat, but he did. But she didn't have anyone stand against her.
Oh yeah. So basically, she was, in a sense, from what I can tell, Welsh. Basically, if I had to compare the situation, Vagon Gaffin was sort of like the Welsh Labour's Liz Truss, who got into a place. Let's see, their last leader, if you will, who was, let's see, unlike Boris, was going to step down anyway, and arguably was electorally successful for Wales, for Labour, as he did well despite Labour's fallings in the 2021 local elections. But Gaffing was like so bad he ended up having to be ousted, and he was Keir Starmer's pick, and they've had to put, let's see, Ellen Morgan in by default. Now, whether or not you could say the Welsh elections are her fault or not, it seems like it's more of she's just inherited a very bad position of like Keir Starmer being so poor nationally, as well as having to be the second replacement in the same parliament, if you will. So that is never a good sign in UK politics, but nevertheless, let's see, Welsh Labour is about to appears to have their most historic defeat in over 100 years, if you will. And arguably but yeah. Now, if I had to guess, I'd probably have to agree between 35 to 40 is where I think Plaid Cymru would do. And I suppose depending on how well that requires, if Labour says gets like 10 or 15, or if the Greens get 5 or 10, may determine, let's see. So if the Greens do very well, some of these polls are predicting that the Greens will do really well. So I'm thinking getting 10 or 11. And if Plaid Cymru gets, say, enough to match that, you could have like a Plaid Cymru and Green coalition, kind of like how in Scotland you have the SNP backed by the Greens one way or another. So in many ways, Wales will start to mirror Scotland in these devolved elections.
That would definitely be the preferred coalition of both parties, because they stand candidates sometimes at local elections together. I mean, they once had a shared MP, like long before Caroline Lucas.
Okay. So, yeah. I didn't know that Plaid Cymru and Greens once went into the alliance with the Lib Dems to try and stop Brexit in the 2019 election. So, arguably, they could work here. But arguably, if Plaid Cymru has to rely on Labour, that would cause, I think, some tensions. I don't know. What do you think, Cam?
I don't know enough about the dynamics in Wales between the Greens and Plaid Cymru.
Okay. Too bad, Josh.
Yeah. I don't know whether they'd be in a coalition, but
okay. So let's see. At the very least, is it going to be like a coalition or more of a confidence and supply is a more likely option between, I guess, Plaid and whoever?
It's possible. It's possible. But it depends. What if Reform are the largest party?
I suppose that is a good thing, because as far as I can tell, sorry, go on.
You could have a scenario where, like on what YouGov poll, where Reform are just edge over the Plaid Cymru.
Let's see.
I guess that would probably mean it would be like a deadlock in Parliament if Reform became the largest party, because even with the Conservatives, they wouldn't have enough. So, and the Lib Dems have already said they wouldn't work with the Tories or Reform. So,
oh yeah, the biggest problem for Reform, even if they do well, is that the only partners they could have in the Welsh Senate elections is the Tories, and it's no guarantee that the Tories are going to do well in Wales, because last election, they basically lost all their seats. But yeah, anyway, we've got Shockwave saying, "Oh no, yeah, Restore Britain is only standing in 9 wards, so vote splitting on the right is minimal." Okay, fair enough. At least I take it as for the locals.
Yeah, I mean, when I talk about vote splitting with Restore, I'll talk about a future general election where I think it could happen.
There was actually a really interesting poll the other week where I think just this week actually, where I think it predicted Plaid could get about 74 MPs, which would be insane because they've never got anywhere near that sort of number. I think the most maybe about 10, 15, maybe even less than 10.
74?
Yeah.
That would be a bit insane because, well, for the Welsh elections, there's a... Oops, let me just... I've gotten the wrong tab open. Let me just scroll up. Scroll up. From my understanding, let's see, there was a total of 96 seats.
I'm talking about a UK general election. I'm talking about MPs.
Let's see. Okay, that'd be a bit weird because I think Wales has about 38 seats in the parliament.
Or maybe it was somebody entered something in wrong. It was a botched poll or something. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I could see maybe if it was they saying maybe like they said 76, right? Did they mean 26? Because that will probably be the more accurate for like sort of prediction, if you will, because it's like that'd be huge for them in Wales. But yeah, but arguably, let's see, for Wales, their best bet is for like Plaid Cymru to either be large enough to form with like the Greens, or let's see, Labour, or maybe I guess even the Lib Dems if they're willing to work with Plaid Cymru, because Reform, while they might do, even if they do well, I don't think let's see, none of the other left or centrist parties would ever dare work with them, and only like Reform, I mean the Conservatives, but arguably you probably have a more stable time with Plaid Cymru if that ends up being the case. And we've got Onyx Shockwave saying, "Nightmare for the Uni Party is Plaid first by far, but falling short by enough to need the Greens. Reform comes in a distinct second, failing to breach 30, and Labour wipeout with Tories and Lib Dems 1 each." Okay. Now that would probably arguably be a bit of a nightmare because this would definitely sort of mirror the 2015 Scottish elections in the UK general election. And arguably, yeah, if the Greens sort of like if it's just the Greens and Plaid Cymru and those two sort of govern very well, this would probably encourage more people to vote for them in like the national Welsh and elections, because Labour do not want to lose their heartlands in Wales, because it'll be like talked with like when they lost Scotland, will they ever be able to form a government again? So yeah, but anyway, I suppose. Do any of you have any? Sorry, go on. Or was I just hearing my echo? Anyway, my question is there anything else you want to say about the Senedd elections from before we move on to the Scottish?
It probably would have helped Morgan a lot if she'd been like the Scottish leader and actually called out Starmer, because I don't think Scottish Labour are predicted to lose as badly.
So you think it's basically if she did what the Scottish leader did, like
she like a couple of weeks ago just told him to leave because everyone else is going to be doing it in a couple of weeks anyway.
Oh yeah, so it's like but yeah, but it's interesting because sorry, go on. What about you, Cameron? Cameron?
Sorry.
So I just wanted what are your closing thoughts on these Welsh elections?
I just think it's going to be a disaster for Labour.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. That is. It's gone.
I think Plaid will be the clear winners.
Reform
will do well, and Labour will lose Wales.
And do you think, let's see, Plaid Cymru will either have to rely on the Greens, Labour, or even Lib Dems to form the next government?
No, yeah, I think they'll have to rely on someone. I don't know how well they expect the Greens to do in Wales. Do you think that that sort of left wing liberal dissatisfaction with Labour's direction will be directed at Plaid Cymru rather than the Greens in Wales?
Yeah, it's sort of hard to tell because they overlap so much. Plaid and the Welsh Greens, I'd say like probably 70 to 80% of policy is very similar. A lot of people just think, oh, why don't you vote for Plaid? It'd be interesting to see how they handle. Well, I mean, Plaid leader has already said that he might run a minority coalition, so that could work. But it'd be interesting to see how they handle their supporters' expectations with stuff like independence, because they've already said they're not going to do it during this parliament term. But I don't know if they don't start laying down the groundwork and say, oh, we'll do it in the next parliament. If we win that, then maybe some of the independence supporters will get a bit restless.
Arguably, yes, because my understanding, they want to show that they can actually govern first, kind of like the SNP did before they called like an independence referendum, or like 2014, if you will. Now, it would be interesting because for some people who are pro-union, I guess, this will be like the first time all the sort of devolved like elections, like the Irish, Northern Irish, I mean, the Scottish, and Wales elections, they will all be led by a nationalist party that wants independence from the United Kingdom, or basically, we don't want to be with you English lot anymore.
I suppose the difference would be Northern Ireland, they have to govern with unionists, so it's a little bit different there.
Yeah, so it's a bit more complicated to there. Though arguably, I don't see Welsh independence anytime soon, since most people in Wales still want to be a part of the union with the UK, or at least with England.
Yeah, the earliest I could see a referendum would be maybe 2032, 33, the very earliest, something like that.
Yeah, and even then, I'm not entirely sure it will be like something like neck and neck like the Scottish referendum.
Yeah, they'd have to build up a lot of momentum in that time.
Yeah, and see, at the moment, Wales just does not have that much of a negative history with England compared to like Scotland and England. Anyway, we got a comment from. Sorry, what? Oh. Anyway, only Shockwave says, don't forget Welsh and Scottish locals are next year. So if Plaid does well and Labour continues to collapse nationally, Labour will get a similar drubbing next year, arguably less. And half of Britain Elects did a stream about Gorton and Denton and mentioned Reform UK's surge in Scotland was driven by right-wing pro-Indie voters who were ... Okay. I guess I should probably move on to the next one, in which, of course, is the 2026 Scottish Parliament elections. John Sweeney, who took over, is now been the first minister ever since. I believe his name was. Let's see, Hummus Yusuf had to step down. I can't recall why he had to step down, but like Scottish scandals, I believe, with SNP, if I had to remember. There was a bunch of pretty much infighting between the more left and right wing blocks of the SNP after like Nicola Sturgeon stepped down and it came out of scandals with her and her husband.
And when the Greens left the coalition as well, I think.
Oh yeah, and the Greens left the coalitions. John Sweeney has been a bit of a sort of compromise candidate where sort of in the middle of SNP left and right, from my understanding, and has been like the leader of, let's see, Scotland before for a brief period between Alex Salmon when he wasn't leader.
Yeah, so, I think he's because he's seen as like a competent person above anything else. Not ideal.
Yeah. Now, granted, unfortunately for him, he could not save the SNP during the 2024 election, but Starmer, being as bad as he is, has given SNP their momentum back, if you will. Anyway, only Shockwave saying to continuing delusion by Sturgeon users went later Labour and continuous protest against the SNP. Oh yeah.
Yeah, surprised that I think many right-wing,
which makes reform difficult to pin down in Scotland, having both pro-Indian and pro-Unionist voters within their ranks. Arguably, yeah. Arguably. But like I was saying, given how where's that background noise coming from? Is it coming from? Okay, it's coming from NA's. Apologies there, NA. I will. Let's see. Once I'm ready to hear you talk, you can unmute yourself and all that. But anyway, what was it? Oh yeah, Scottish elections. So Scotland has basically, in the devolved parliament, been governed by the SNP since, I believe, 2007. They've won, I believe, the last, last 4 elections in a row, if you will, and it looks like they're about to have their 5th win, which arguably is very unprecedented for a UK national election, because from what I can tell, at least the UK election, because no matter how well Labour or Tories do, they always, after like at best 3 or 4 elections, usually the opposition gets in times to govern. Granted, Wales has always won an election, so they have the highest record in terms of thing, but the SNP are going to buck the trend of the Nationals and be arguably look like coming for the win 5 times in a row. So, but yeah, the only question is the SNP going to do as well as last time, or are they going to do and just be like, or do a bit better and actually get a majority they need, like they did back in 2000? I think was it 11? I think. Let me just check. It was 2011. Or will they, of course, once again need to rely on the Scottish Greens, and whether or not Labour is going to have a complete collapse, as well as the Tories, and is Reform going to become the official opposition? Now, I suppose I said that. I suppose I'll let you guys have your thoughts on that. Sorry, NA, would you like to go first, or would Cameron, you'd like to go first?
Do you want to, Cameron?
You can go first. I'm just have to go to the door.
Yeah, so I think has the SNP only won a majority once before then?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that would be crazy if they won it another majority in a proportional election. Given just Europe-wide, that must be extremely rare in true democratic countries to win a majority 5 times in a row. Discussing countries like Belarus and Hungary.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, they're currently polling at like an average of 30 to 35 from what it tells. But yeah,
arguably have disbanded, so their couple of percent has probably gone straight to the SNP and the Greens.
Mm-hmm. But interesting enough, there has been some polling that shows that they could get over the majority here of like 67, it seems. So let's see. But yeah, but there is only like one that's come out where they need. Let's see, where they've gone down a little bit, but they could still arguably govern with arguably maybe the Greens, or I can't really say Conservative, Labour, Lib Dems, or Reform, because they're all pro-union parties. As a result, they will refuse to work with the SNP.
Yeah, they all seem very anti-SNP.
Yeah. The biggest problem for the union vote as well in Scotland is that they also all hate each other, so they won't be able to form a government, even if by some chance they gain more seats than they gain more seats combined than, I guess, the pro-independence parties.
I suppose you could maybe argue that's good case for independence in the case that there's no other viable option other than an SNP outright majority or SNP and Greens from like if foreseeable future, because I don't see any situation with the parties, the unionist parties, being able to form majority anytime down the road.
Yeah, arguably,
So,
yeah. This is like
we need independence for a stable government.
Yeah, it's like if you want, it seems like the best bet if you want a stable sort of like coalition, you would arguably have to throw in support for like the pro nationalist or pro independence parties, because or the unionist parties, even though they don't like the SNP, they also unfortunately do not like each other. As a result, especially Reform, let's see, the only ones that would be willing to work with each other are, let's see, Tories and Reform, or Lib Dems and Labour, but none of those are going to get seats in that match like the numbers that the SNP and Greens usually get. I mean, we are far from the early days of where it used to be just Scottish Labour with like Scottish Lib Dems. So, yeah, and heck, now granted, I do know that before like Labour's collapse and Labour recovered their seats back in 2024, it looked like they were also going to like recover the Scottish Parliament with Anna Sarwar leading them and all that stuff. But when like Labour collapsed, Scottish Labour of course tanked, and it got so bad that Anna Sarwar eventually called for Keir Starmer to step down. So yeah. That is like one aspect of like the Ned. So
I think that helps a lot because you can see the Scottish Labour aren't predicted to drop that much, really.
Okay, fair enough. So what about you, Cam? What do you have to make? What do you think about the whole Scottish elections?
I've seen very conflicting polling on this area. I've seen some polls come out saying it's going to be a unionist majority.
Really?
Yeah. So, whilst he's been a massive contradiction of the last few weeks.
Okay.
I think there's some people still be the largest party. I suspect they may just have enough for a majority of the Greens, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
So my suspicion will be the same arrangement they had for a while. Reform will be interesting to see whether they'll be very close to Labour, but in seats, I think. But I'm not sure. So there's a lot of speculation about Reform being larger than Labour in Scotland. So I think it's a possibility still, but I don't think. I would say, as you discussed before, I think Labour will do better in Scotland than, let's say, Wales. I don't think Labour collapse would be much smaller.
Let's see. Yeah, there's some it is interesting because it seems like many believe that, particularly like in this polling, that either Labour will become behind. Might become second, but also likely they might become third behind. More likely to become third behind Reform, and some think it might be worse and they become in fourth place behind Reform and the Conservatives. But yeah. But yeah, it seems like Reform are the ones that are going to be like the opposition to the SNP.
Yeah, the polls are quite fluid in that there's parties that could come, anywhere from second to fourth, and fluctuate between those.
We've got a comment from Shockwave saying Labour's collapse in Scottish elections will be smaller than people think because the 2021 they were already in collapse, so have very little to lose. A 5 or 6 seat loss. Okay. and it's ultimately a race for second place. So yeah, arguably for the SNP, it'll be they'll have to figure out who's going to be shouting at them the most: Labour, Tories, or Reform. When it comes to their Parliament debates, but yeah, arguably the whole highlight of this one. If I had to guess, I think the SNP will likely get between. I think on average they're going to get 60 seats, maybe slightly higher. No, they're going to get higher than 65, which they need to form a majority. I think it's unlikely, but given how unpopular Keir Starmer is, I wouldn't. Let's see. I wouldn't be surprised. Now, granted, it's interesting here. Shockwave saying Welsh elections are more quote unquote sexy to talk about, given the profanity that is what's about to transpire. Scotland will be a shade of nothing ever happens. SNP government survives. Arguably, yes. The biggest problem is that the Scottish elections, with the exception of maybe 2024, was predictable because, SNP have just dominated for so long, and that it doesn't look like anything else is going to happen. But now, arguably, perhaps if the Scottish Parliament elections happened at a time when all their scandals were going through, and that would have caused some interesting results, could that have given Labour enough to form the Scottish Parliament then with maybe the Lib Dems, or would they have to do some sort of coalition with Lib Dems and the Tories? But that would be, of course, chaotic because no one wants to see Labour and the Lib Dems working together. So, but I guess it's arguably it's the time to replace the SNP with say Labour as has gone past, and now it's whether or not Labour or Reform become second place, if you will. So yeah, that is just basically what it is. It's predictable. The only question is if the SNP get a majority again. From my understanding, John Swinney will try and push for a second independence referendum, which arguably, since the reason they managed to get the first referendum is because they did get a majority in the Scottish Parliament, and as a result, David Cameron felt, okay, I'll give it to you. But then, of course, unionist parties all teamed up to prevent Scotland from leaving the Union. Some of that was about, let's see, it's better to be in the Union so we can stay in the EU. Of course, granted, just 2 years later, the UK voted to leave the EU, but Scotland did not. Voted overwhelmingly to stay in the EU. This sort of boasted the SNP's campaigns for independence again, because it's see what happens. It doesn't matter what we think. Since England's always the largest one, they always get their say, and we don't want to leave Europe. But England made us, so arguably that. Now, granted, I do think I have heard that it's unlikely, even if they do get a majority, and it does give them sort of arguably the mandate to for a second in the referendum. You're likely not going to have Keir Starmer or anyone that comes after him, if you will, give him to it, because no national unionist party wants to be responsible for having Scotland leave the Union. I don't know. What do you guys think?
I don't think Starmer will be there long enough to worry about it. He'll be gone a few weeks. The locals. Mm-hmm. The only way I can see them granting a referendum is after the next election, if Labour in a coalition or confidence buy with the Lib Dems, the Greens, and then they need support from Plaid and SNP. That's the only way I can see them granting a referendum, and it will be near the end of the next UK Parliament term. Probably they'll say, if you support us for this Parliament term, at the end of it, we'll grant you the referendum or something like that. So that'd be mid 2030s.
Okay. What about you, Cameron? What do you think?
Yeah, I'll agree. I can't. I can't see it being a Scottish independence referendum unless a government is forced into it to achieve power, basically.
Yeah, and granted, given how chaotic the polling is, it might be that Reform and Tories, even though they might be the two largest parties, they might still not have enough to get a majority, and then it's like all the I guess you could say anti-right wing parties form a government together, and the SNP's condition is give us an independence referendum. But that would probably be pre-chaos, which I suppose goes to this comment here of Shockwave saying the unionist majority would make it impossible to form a government. It'd be on an SNP minority besieged on all sides. Too large to remove, too small to assert themselves. That is arguably fair. I think we even mentioned that earlier. Sorry, you were about to say something, Cameron?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, if it's a scenario that Labour, Pride Cymru, Greens and Dems all have to work together to keep out reforming the Tories, I think that government would collapse very quickly. More likely than not.
Yeah, I'd
be a bit. The problem is it's the only viable option other than Tories and Reform at the moment, anyway.
Yeah, arguably you'd probably want to see if you have to have like a minority or coalition government. You'd probably at best want maybe one other party in it rather than two or more.
I think a viable coalition would be sort of what we saw. Sort of the alliance we saw on the planet Shannon and Tony Blair. Like if we see a return of that sort of political alliance, then I can see a viable coalition. But I doubt it.
What coalition?
Sort of a political alliance. You know, the sort of alliance between Paddy Ashdown and Tony Blair.
Okay.
Where they agreed to form a coalition if there's a majority in those certain amounts. I forgot how much it was. That's the sort of arrangements you would need really for that to succeed.
Okay, so basically like a Labour Lib Dem coalition government.
Yeah.
I suppose that one's possible, but I don't see. It really depends on how well or badly Labour do. That I mean, Lib Dems are probably going to keep the majority of their seats, but it's Labour that's in risk of losing.
See, I don't know. Lib Dems are going to be very hard to predict because if you look at their majorities and all this, it's very small, and if the Conservatives do a little better, which you suspect they will, they could actually gain some of those seats back.
Okay.
So I think the Dems would be very hard to predict. Whether they'll still about 70 seats or be slashed to about 30 seats.
Okay.
I think they're very stagnant. Like I said before, they're very stagnant as a party. They're not making progress. They're being non-entities.
I suppose that leads to I guess now that the Scottish ones see done. I suppose we can talk to the final question is will Keir Starmer resign or be booted out after the local elections? Because it's looking, as you can totally say here, Keir Starmer is not having exactly been the best week due to more scandals with the Prince of Darkness, let's just call him. I'm not going to say his name. Let's see more info about whether or not what Keir Starmer knew about when hiring him and stuff. I'm trying to say, oh no, he didn't, but there's been some talks, I think, from the civil service. We did try to warn you, but you still went on with it anyway. As a result, you've got a lot of MPs who were backing Starmer, or at least reluctantly doing so, no longer doing so. And the fact that they also have these locals, which many people were thinking that Labour wasn't going to get rid of him unless he did poorly in the locals. So they have him as the fall guy for whoever comes in to take him. But who knows? But there's some talks maybe that he might just stay on, just because of stuff like the King's Speech, or maybe no one that's viable to return and replace him. But given how so you've got like these recent scandals with the Prince of Darkness, if you will. Starmer will it's making it very hard for Starmer to stay by, with many people comparing this to like the Boris Johnson Partygate fiascos, if you will, that ultimately brought him down. But yeah. And now what do you guys think? Do you think Starmer is going to able to survive these locals? Do you think one way or another he'll be gone, either by the end of this year or maybe next year, or even at least the election, one way or another? I don't know what you think.
I'd say there's probably about 90% chance that within a month or two with the locals, he'll say he's stepping down, in my opinion.
Oh, you think he'll willingly step down?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, let's say willingly. It's sort of you jump before you pushed, sort of thing.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he's going to be probably told us to step down, and he's going to be forced to do it. There's also a couple other scandals that could actually get him to step down. And then next week there's a court case with the certain arsonist that tried to burn down his property next week, and that could be quite scandalous.
What's the scandal behind that?
You know, the arson attacks against his properties with those Ukrainian and Romanian rent boys, should I say. That court is case is next week.
But
so
what's he done wrong?
The speculation that there's something there's more of a ulterior motive to why they targeted him.
Interesting.
Fair enough. So, what about you, Anna? What do you think?
Yeah, like I said, I think he'll be gone within a month or two. I don't know about the arson scandal or anything like that, so I can't really comment.
I guess I forgot about that. My apologies. All right, I think let's see. Shockwave is saying Starmer will try to hang on as long as he can, unless there's a formal leadership challenge. He's not going. And thinks the anti-Starmer voices are so divided in three areas: the hardline Blairites, the pro-Rayner and pro-Burnham, and the pro-Bowman. How could they play them against each other, which might buy time? Arguably, yeah. I think at the very least, Keir Starmer is not going to be it's not going to be Ritzy, the leader for Labour, to run the next general election. I do not think that is happening. I think one way or another he is gone. The only question is, do the Labour act now or do they wait a bit? Because see, there has been talks on whether or not MPs will wait for like a chance to get Andy Burnham in, especially after like the Scottish. I mean, I guess you could say the parliamentary party sort of elections at Labour conference, if you will.
Yeah. Wait, who in the right mind thinks Angela Rayner is a good option to replace Starmer?
Well,
what I'm most interested. Sorry, go on, Cooper.
Well, I was going to think. I think most people would probably prefer Burnham over Rayner, but they might just pick Rayner just because I think Starmer's that bad. But anyway, go on, NA. You have your piece.
Yeah, what I'm sort of interested in is whether there's going to be, like you say, if they wait for Burnham and try and put him in an MP seat, or if there's going to be some other third party or fourth party other than Rayner, what's his name, the Health Secretary, or Burnham, if somebody else crops up.
West Streeting. Let's see, arguably would be the natural successor for the Labour right, but the whole Manison saga has caused such scandals with him due to his own accidentally said the Prince of Darkness's name, but yeah, but basically due to that association, they now feel like he's been tainted and probably wouldn't win now. So
I think are there any other people that have been mooted other than him and Rayner, maybe Burnham?
Well, besides those three, people have been talking about Ed Miliband, and in fact, there's been talks of that he's been making moves for a comeback, if you will. And he's arguably the only member of cabinet that even remotely, I guess, popular, at least popular than Welsh Labour members. I mean, Labour members in general.
I don't think it's popular at all, but maybe that's just people I've just heard in person and not the wider public. I don't know.
Yeah, because arguably, any Burnham timeline would have first go for a Lamian term, with some soft left PM to keep the seat warm for a year or two, which arguably is the biggest problem for like Burnham. The one chance he could have possibly got in was blocked, and as was by Labour and by Starmer and the NEC, which they all, of course, said like, oh, we don't want to cause a by-election in Manchester, Mayor OT. But everyone knows the reason they did so was to block Burnham, because everyone wanted him as leader, not Starmer. So, but as a result of that block, it might have like prevented Burnham's chance to come in, which arguably he's the only one that's decent or at least popular enough with like the membership and to the extent the public at the same time. Granted, that might not last long with like all the chaos going on in the world, but nevertheless, Burnham would be, of course, the natural choice if it weren't for like everything else going on. And him being blocked, I
suppose as long as the person hasn't served in a cabinet position, that would do them a lot of favors.
Yeah, basically an outsider, if you will. Doctor Who trivia: Mark Gatiss, who played Dr. Lazarus, portrayed the Prince of Darkness in an IT film coalition about the formation of the Tory Lib Dem coalition government. Okay, that's some interesting ritzy details there, but yeah, I know, Cameron. What do you make? You find Rayner to be a poor choice. What do you think of the other alternatives, if there is any? You think?
I thought they're much better, but I think Rayner's very scandalous figure. I think she resigned in disgrace. I don't see many good options. I think the best thing for Labour is someone that is not controversial. That's not gonna rattle the boat anymore. So maybe Burnham. If you're talking about an MP, I don't like her, but maybe someone like Yvette Cooper.
Okay,
so that would be a safe choice for Labour.
Arguably, she's a lot less controversial than some of the other ones, but there's many believe that she's going to end up losing her seat. No, granted,
I think most of them will lose her seat. Let's be honest. So she'd been in a mood, almost lost her seat to someone called Ahmed Yakub. West Streeting almost lost his seat to independent. I forgot her name.
Oh yeah.
The polling suggests that John Healy, Yvette Cooper, possibly a Miliband, all lose their seats to reform. Most of these candidates will likely lose their seats.
Okay.
So I don't see that argument, because like most of the government could lose their seats. That's how bad it is for Labour at this time.
Right, yeah. But I suppose the only question is, do you think they're going to try and oust Starmer sooner, or do you think they're going to wait a bit later?
I think someone will force to resign. I think we force resign to the locals.
Okay. So after the locals guaranteed, it's just nearer or later, would you say?
Probably, let's say in a month or two after the locals. If he doesn't resign, then he'll be forced out before the next election.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely say he's not surviving. At best, I think he's got until like maybe conference, because I think by conference, let's see, especially if the NEC is a more, I guess you could say, pro Burnham or soft left, if you will, he won't have their advantage, and it's like you've lost basically your allies. Time for you to go. Now, granted, see, Starmer being replaced does not necessarily save Labour's chances. It might, at the very least, stop them from having a complete annihilation, because there's no way, Starmer can win an election again. And with the way they're going, they could have a wipeout that's even worse than 1931, which is sort of maddening to think about.
I think if Starmer did try and stay on after the locals, which I definitely don't think he will, but if he did, I think possibly quite a few of the unions would come out publicly and say, if Starmer stays on, we're going to seriously consider disaffiliating. Like, we're going to put it to the members whether we'll disaffiliate from Labour.
Okay. That's fair. All right. That's fair enough. Any more comments on this, or you guys said everything you want to say about dirty Keir Starmer?
Yeah, I haven't got anything to add.
What about you, Cameron?
No, I don't have anything else to add.
Okay, so I think that's more or less, we are probably just by the end of this stream. In large summary, let's see, Labour are going to be smashed everywhere. The only question is, will they come at the third or fourth, I guess, in in the Welsh and Scottish elections, and whether or not, let's see, who would the nationalist parties who are likely to be being the leading ones in those devolved elections. Will they need to work with, say, the Greens or someone else in order to form their governments? And let's see how likely we're going to see Keir Starmer, when it's likely that Keir Starmer is going to be forced to step down, Ritzy, between just a month or so after the locals at best, or if he will go by the time of, I suppose, the conference. Because I think, for me, it's definitely the conference. I think it'll be around the conference where he'll probably have no choice but to go, especially if the NEC becomes quite the anti-Starmer group, if you will. That would be a super, let's see, anything like it was under the Corbyn years when it was finally started to become pro-left, if you will. But I think Starmer would definitely lose his block of having a super majority. So they all, but I suppose minus, I guess, was it Lisa Nandy, ironically enough? Or was it Lucy Powell that Betsy prevented Andy Burnham from standing as an parliamentary candidate, which it could be that Labour MPs will wait, of course, wait for the NS to get control of the NEC again, and then boot out Starmer so they can get Burnham in, just because I think no one else but Burnham can. But who knows? It also could be very likely that someone, say, like Miliband, Rayner, or Streeting might try to act early and get Starmer in the boot, but who knows? But yeah. Well, anyway, let's see. Now that we're wrapping up, Cameron, thank you for joining me. I've been pestering you and was to try and do a prediction stream on this, but yeah, it's good to actually have you finally on my channel with the political discussions. And NA, thank you for joining us as well. It was a bit surprising to find someone in the side chat wanting to join.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I just have a question. Are you one of Captain Swiss's audience, or did you just happen to find the stream while it was live? I'm just curious.
No, I'm one of the audience. I was on the last stream with you guys as well. I mean, I've watched Swiss for many years, when Leanne Wood was the leader of Plaid, so that tells you how many years ago that was, before COVID and all that.
Okay, fair enough. Well, I'm sure
thing like that because I haven't got social media, so I'm not in Bullet, so the only way I can get on streams is via the chat.
Yeah, that's fair. Which unfortunately, given the Milky Awards incident and local election predictions,
I was on during that, so I know the whole. I was on when that all happened.
Yeah, so thanks to that incident, I don't think Swiss is ever going to allow let's see links into the side chat in the comments chat ever again. Except maybe, well, maybe not, maybe, or at the very least, we'll only do it for a brief second to allow someone in. But yeah, we're never trusting the name William again. But yeah, well, anyway, I think that's all said and done. Cooper Man, let's see, and you guys can now say your names if you want. Oh, and let's see, this is Cameron and NA signing off. For those who end up listening, I hope you enjoyed what we had to say. Put your comments on whether or not you agree or disagree with our local election predictions, or even what you personally think is going to happen. Because arguably, maybe we didn't do some exact numbers, but at the very least, you can tell. Yeah, let's see. We think Greens, Reform, England, Clyde, Wales, and SNP Scotland and Starmer 1 or 2 months to like conference. He's gone. So yeah, that's all we've got to say now. And bye for now. Bye. And